I'm sure you've heard of Neil Armstrong and you've heard of Buzz Aldrin, but there is a third man on Apollo 11, and his name was Michael Collins. Today we're going to be looking into the life of Michael Collins and his significance in the Apollo 11 mission.
There's a star waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a star waiting in the sky.
Michael Collins was born on October 31st, 1930, in Rome, Italy. His father was serving there in the United States Army. As usual for children of the military, Michael moved around a lot. They had been in Rome, Oklahoma, New York, Washington, D.C., Ohio, Puerto Rico, Texas, and Virginia. While in Puerto Rico, he had his first plane ride in a Grumman Witten. The pilot was kind enough to let the boy have a go at the controls, sparking an interest in flight. Unfortunately, because of World War II, he was unable to learn how to fly. Michael Collins went to West Point Academy but was commissioned in the Air Force. This was because at the time, the Air Force Academy was still being constructed. With a degree in military science, he graduated with future astronaut Ed White, who would go on to be on the first Apollo mission, Apollo 1, which tragically was a failure, resulting in his death. Fascinated by aeronautics and the future of travel, Michael Collins began fighter training at Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi. He trained in the T-6 Texan and was picking up flying skills faster than most of his colleagues. Upon receiving his wings, Michael was chosen for advanced fighter training at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. There he trained to fly F-86 Sabres. The training was not easy, and in just the 22 weeks of his training, 11 pilots sadly did not reach the end. At an officer's mess in Boston, Massachusetts, Collins met his future wife, Patricia Finnegan. She served as a social worker in the United States Air Force in order to see more of the world. After being set back by Michael's being deployed to West Germany, they eventually married in 1957 and had 2 daughters and 1 son. Michael tried to get into NASA's astronaut program, inspired by Mercury Atlas 6, but did not get in. As a test pilot, he went through more flight training in the F-104 Starfighter, in which he experienced zero gravity. After that, a call comes in from NASA asking if he was still interested in being an astronaut. Of course, he jumped at the opportunity, and he was officially a NASA astronaut. And now for the fun part, space missions. Michael Collins only went on 2 missions, Gemini 10 and Apollo 11. For those who don't know, Gemini was a mission to just practice docking in orbit. Then, of those Gemini pilots, a very select few would go on to fly an Apollo mission. So, Apollo 11. You're probably thinking Michael Collins was this guy. No? Well, this guy. Nope. Oh right, he was the guy who stayed on the ship. No, not even that. He was the guy up here. He stayed in the command module for the whole mission, which I would imagine kinda sucked, staying up there while your buddies are making history down there. While he wasn't the first man on the moon, he went the farthest any man has ever gone from Earth, and he still holds that record today. None of the other Apollo missions went as far as he did, and no modern NASA missions have either. Which, that's pretty cool, but the other thing is, he was completely alone. Alone in a small, janky spaceship with limited room to move around, drifting in space as the world goes crazy over this new feat of exploration. 48 hours alone. The only person not contained in the frame of this photo is Michael Collins. Which brings us to today's sponsor, SpaceX. No, just kidding, they would never sponsor me. Michael's job was to fly the command module, kind of like Neil and Buzz's bus driver to the moon. He wrote a book called Carrying the Fire, which I'm hoping to read in the near future. So, in conclusion, he didn't get to step foot on the moon, and he didn't get to be remembered as well as Neil or Buzz, as I'm sure you've never even heard of him. But even though he didn't get to land on the moon, which was his dream from childhood, I'd say he got pretty close.